This is where we take these huge, often really distorted ideas, we tear them apart with some rigorous source material, and we hand you the synthesized insight.
Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a word that is, let's face it, surrounded by a ton of mystery and misinformation, Tantra. But we're going to cut right through all that noise, go straight to the source, and find out what it really is. A pretty incredible science for spiritual transformation. You ready? Let's get into it.
So, let me ask you, when I say the word Tantra, what's the very first thing that pops into your mind? For a lot of us, it probably brings up these images of, sensational rituals or some kind of really esoteric practice. But what if I told you the reality is something way deeper, way more scientific, and honestly, radically progressive? And this right here, this really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got the common myths. On the other, what our source material actually tells us. So forget all the sensationalism. Tantra is a spiritual science. It's not about chasing worldly desires, but about the expansion of your own self, your consciousness. And it's definitely not some kind of mysterious magic. It's a real, methodical path to achieving liberation from bondage.
Okay, so here's the roadmap for our journey today. First, we're going to unpack what liberation from bondage really means. Then, we'll get into the core practice, what the source calls the science of struggle. After that, we'll explore this incredible idea of awakening a divine power that's lying dormant inside you. See how that personal change is meant to spark a social revolution, and finally, wrap our heads around why this path is a continuous, never-ending fight.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. Liberation from bondage. To really, truly understand Tantra, we have to look at the word itself. Because believe it or not, the entire philosophy is basically encoded right there in its very sound.
So check this out. The word Tantra comes from two root sounds. First, you have ta. Ta represents dullness, that static force, the bondage that holds us back. You can almost think of it like a kind of spiritual gravity. And then you have tra, which means that which liberates. So when you put them together, Tantra literally means the science of liberating yourself from that dullness. It's a practice for breaking free.
And this just nails the core purpose, doesn't it? Tantra is not about sitting around and passively waiting for something to happen. No, it's an active practice to expand your spiritual self, to literally push away from those static forces that keep you stuck and move towards something much, much higher.
And this is a really crucial point. Tantra is not a religion. It's not another ism. You don't have to belong to any particular faith to practice it. The source presents it as a universal spiritual science, a set of tools and principles that are available to anyone, anywhere, who's looking for that self-expansion and liberation.
Okay, so if Tantra is the science of breaking free, how do you actually do it? Well, that brings us to its core practice, which is called sadhana. You can think of sadhana as disciplined spiritual effort. And listen, this is no passive meditation. It's framed as an active, energetic, internal fight. It's the path of the spiritual warrior.
So this practice, this sadhana, has three key features. Number one, and this is the big one, is vigorous struggle. The second is the goal of awakening a really powerful, specific energy inside you. And we're going to get to this amazing concept of the kundalini in just a second. And third is using a mantra as a tool in this whole process. But everything, and I mean everything, starts with that struggle, that fight.
I absolutely love this quote from the source. It's just so direct. A pactless fight. What does that mean? It means no deals, no compromises, no half measures. It's not just about fighting your external problems or your internal demons one at a time. The source calls it an all-round fight, a constant battle against every limitation on every level of your being, physical, mental, and spiritual. So who exactly is the enemy in this inner war? Well, as you can see, the fight is against our own inner limitations. It's against things like hatred, suspicion, fear, shyness, greed, ego, all of the mental weaknesses that create that dullness we talked about earlier. This is the battlefield of Tantra.
And that brings us to the second key feature of the practice, awakening latent divinity. And this is where we get into one of the most incredible concepts in Tantra, the idea that there is a huge, untapped power that exists inside every single one of us.
According to the philosophy of Tantra, right at the base of your spine, at the very root of your being, there is a sleeping divine energy. It's almost like having a superpower that you never even knew existed, a massive potential that, for most of us, just stays dormant our entire lives. This energy has a name. the kundalini. It literally translates to the coiled serpentine. I want you to imagine a tightly wound spring of pure cosmic energy, just a huge reservoir of divine potential, waiting for the right trigger to be released. That's the kundalini.
So the number one job of this spiritual practice, of sadhana, is to awaken this energy, to wake it up from its long hibernation. And this awakening isn't just a pretty metaphor. It's seen as the literal trigger for profound psycho-spiritual transformation. And once it's awakened, the journey really begins. The whole goal is to guide this powerful energy upward, moving through different psychic centers in the body, until it finally unites with what the Source calls supreme consciousness. You can think of this as the ultimate state of universal awareness, of oneness. This is the path from our limited, everyday self to our highest, most divine potential.
Okay, so up to now, we've been focused on the individual's inner journey. But here's where Tantra becomes truly radical, and I mean revolutionary. This inner transformation is not just for your own personal salvation. It's seen as the engine for a total social revolution.
This slide just lays it all out. The contrast with the established Vedic ideals of that time is stark. While the Vedic system put all this importance on your clan, your race, and prayer, Tantra championed the ideal human, judged on their own individual vigor and their own development. And most radically of all, while the Vedas accepted the rigid caste system, Tantra rejected it completely.
Let's just be absolutely crystal clear about this. How much compromise does Tantra make with the caste system? Zero. The Source says, and I'm quoting here, there cannot be any compromise between Tantra and the caste system. It is an absolute, unwavering rejection of any social hierarchy that's based on birth.
And this quote, wow, this just drives the point home with so much force. It says that people who kick off the caste system are held in higher esteem than the sacred Vedas themselves. I mean, can you imagine how unbelievably progressive that was? It values a person's spiritual growth over any and every social label. So what does this social vision actually look like? Well, it's a world where every single human being has equal status. It's a world where you are honored for your potential and your effort, not your family name. It's a society built to be a stage for everyone's development, and it's fueled by a relentless, non-stop struggle against inequality. And that brings us to our final and maybe most powerful section, the never-ending fight. Now, if the goal is liberation and creating a better world, you might think, okay, there must be a finish line, right? A point where you can finally just rest. But that is not the perspective of Tantra at all.
And the source material leaves us with this final, powerful question to think about. After all this struggle, after all this inner work and outer work, is the fight ever really over? Can a spiritual warrior ever truly lay down their arms?
And the answer is a resounding no. So Tantrics have to continue their fight indefinitely. For them, where is the opportunity to have a rest? Now, this isn't meant to sound pessimistic or exhausting. It's actually a deeply dynamic and optimistic vision. It's saying that growth, that transformation, that fight for a better self and a better world, that is the very essence of a vibrant life. It's a continuous, never-ending, and deeply meaningful journey. Thanks so much for joining me.